Hi guys, so today I'm going to talk about the number one defining trait of successful entrepreneurs. And this isn't what you think. The stuff that I'm going to talk about today is going to feel even mildly controversial to you, or maybe very controversial. It'll be stuff that you're not used to hearing, especially in the context of mindset. This is a presentation that I'm extremely passionate about, and I really want to dive in deeply. I know this is going to change your life, and if you've already heard it, then great. You need to hear it again, and if you haven't yet heard it, a light bulb is going to go off in your head today. The reason why I developed this presentation is because over years of working with business owners and now in the capacity of mentor, I have noticed that you can give two people the exact same information and some people will run with it and some people won't. I was talking to a colleague and we were chatting about how is it possible you can give two people the exact same tools and skills and one person succeeds while the other doesn't. As cheesy and as cliched as it sounds, this comes down to their mindset and their determination. And I'm going to go even deeper into that today. This isn't a training on mindset. This is going to change your life if you let it. So here's a truth to accept right at the beginning. Entrepreneurship is largely what you make it. If you come into this program saying, maybe it won't work, maybe Facebook's going to shut down tomorrow, maybe, you won't be a success. That's just a fact. Now, if you come into this program and you are the exact opposite and you know it's going to work and you can't wait to get your funnels up and you can't wait to talk to people on the phone and you can't wait to sign your first client, it's going to happen for you. That I can absolutely be certain of. As in, you find what you look for. And we know this to be true for far more than just business. In fact, we know this to be true intuitively for our entire lives. And I am confident that if you're here today and you're watching this presentation, you fundamentally understand this because you're here. You've taken a risk in terms of investing in yourself and investing in this program, and you understand this principle that entrepreneurship is largely what you make it. Now, I feel very confident that this doesn't just happen with anything. I'm not saying that you could make any business in the world happening. I'm not saying that you could become a millionaire by selling pineapples on the beach in the Dominican Republic. If you wanted to do that and that made you happy, then by all means you could do that. But some skills are definitely more profitable than others. You have to have a skill that is highly valued, and that's exactly what Facebook ads are. This is precisely why we're here. This is precisely why I've had success, and this has been exactly why you've been able to get into this program because you believe in this. The material that I'm teaching you in this program is a skill set. Facebook ads are just a skill set as well. I would make the argument that marketing is an even broader skill set. So maybe one day, 5 or 7 years from now, we are still going to be doing marketing. Maybe we won't be doing it on Facebook. Actually, maybe we will, but maybe we'll be doing it on another platform. It doesn't matter. Marketing is a skill set that's going to be around forever because it's been around since the beginning of time and it's going to stick. Sales is also a skill set, and that's a skill set that I'm going to teach you as well. Without a doubt, I want to reaffirm and burn this in your brain. There is a massive need for advertising and marketing, and there always will be. 99% of businesses need to advertise, and Facebook ads and Instagram ads are in extremely high demand, and that's what I'll teach you. As we speak, I don't want you to doubt for 1 second. There are many, if not thousands, of Facebook ads agencies just like mine, quietly making 30K months, 50K months, and far more in 1 month. The potential of this business is undebatable. Now, you can keep it really reasonable if you want to have a super enjoyable quality of life where you're just working maybe 30 hours per week and making 8, 7, 10K months, even 11K months. I did that well on my own. You can absolutely do that. The potential is here, and that's why you joined. But I want to remind you of something very sobering. This doesn't matter if you don't take it into your own hands. A sobering reality is some of you will be more successful than others, but there are ways that you can guarantee your success, which is what we're going to talk about today, because I want every single one of you to succeed, and not just succeed, but be incredibly happy and be incredibly fulfilled and excited about what you're working on and truly living the life of your dreams. This sounds so cliche, but this is exactly why I started this program, because I wanted to have more impact. Plus, I wanted to do something that was a passion of mine, which is teaching. So here's what I mean. In late 2017, when I decided that this was the way I wanted to pivot, because I had spent the majority of 2017 sputtering my wheels. I thought I was going to be a copywriter. I thought maybe I could be a general business consultant. I thought maybe I'll work on people's flyers and go into some sort of design of flyers, etc. And I decided that that wasn't working. In fact, I had hired someone to run my ads for me and I paid her $2,000 per month. And the ads weren't working. Of course, I had a moment of clarity where I realized, oh my gosh, I am in the wrong business. Obviously, what I've been selling hasn't been a sexy offer. I need something that people want to pay me for. So in late 2017, this isn't that long ago, I decided I'm going to enroll in a program. I enrolled in a program that cost me $10,000 USD. And in the program, there were three types of people that I noticed. There was really successful, there was moderately successful, and there were what they would consider to be unsuccessful or struggling on a daily basis. When I joined this program, I understood that the value of what I was learning would help me to change my life. And I made a few happy accidents actually and succeeded far faster, which is why I'm teaching you guys the exact formula of this and why I felt like there was a need for this program. Ultimately though, in any program, there are always going to be people that are super successful, sort of successful, and then unsuccessful, struggling. We're going to talk about why right now. This is the exact reason why you can give some people the exact same skill set and some are successful and some aren't. And it comes down to this: radical responsibility. This means taking responsibility for absolutely everything that happens in your life. You might be thinking, wait a sec, Sarah, this sounds kind of trite. I'm a grown-up, I'm already responsible. But take a moment right now and ask yourself really honestly, how many stories do you tell yourself on a daily basis? How many things do you feel like have happened to you in your life that you were a victim to in some way? And how often on a daily or weekly basis do you engage in complaining about how things are for you? Because even as adults, even as grown-ups, even if we're paying our own bills, we're still falling into the trap on a daily basis of telling ourselves stories. And just so you know, I say this from the perspective of being a real human too, and of course I fall into the same trap. But the difference is I ask myself quickly, how can I get out of it? You must accept at the beginning of this program, if you want to guarantee your success, that everything in your life is in some way, shape, or form your fault. And if something truly isn't your fault, because let's face it, life happens, accidents happen to us, the way you respond is 100% your responsibility as well. And we always have the opportunity to respond differently. I will also say that, especially in our culture, this isn't a necessarily popular opinion. This isn't something that people love to say, it's my fault, it's my fault. In fact, I would honestly make the argument that we live in a culture where we're not exactly encouraged to take responsibility. Well, at least we're very confused about it, right? Because of course, everyone wants us to be responsible, contributing people to society that do the right thing. But then on the flip side, we love to make victims of people and say like, oh, so-and-so couldn't do this because of that. I couldn't do this because of this, because of the way I was brought up. My parents were divorced when I was 11 and it massively screwed me up, blah, blah, blah. In this culture in particular, it can feel outright wrong to say everything in my life is my fault. It can feel uneasy to say, if you haven't achieved your dreams, it's your fault. If you were low on money, it's your fault. If you've been divorced, it's your fault. I mean, this is a tough one, right? Because sometimes divorce can be so emotional, so overwhelming, and it can be hard to say, it's my fault. But when we look at the writing on the wall, we've always made decisions. We typically know something isn't the right decision, but we do it anyway. There's all kinds of different nuances that go into all these situations that we could have done differently. So accept that if the relationship with your kids or your coworkers, neighbors, or friends is tension-filled or less than loving, it's only your fault. If you are overweight, not where you want to be in your career, not joyful, not mentally and spiritually peaceful, if you don't have enough time, if you feel overwhelmed, overscheduled, and frazzled, it is your fault and you have the control to change it. So I know this feels extreme, but accepting that your entire life is your fault, as in it's in your hands, gives you total freedom. We live in one of the best times in history. Of course, it's not perfect. Life is never perfect, but we live in a time where life is literally at our fingertips. We have the ability to change our lives just by making this decision, just by joining this program. And the whole premise of radical responsibility is actually good news. Where you are today is the direct accumulation of the decisions you have made and the ways you have reacted to what has happened in the past, even if it wasn't directly your fault. Accepting that this is always your fault is going to change your life. This is good news. You're the captain of your own ship. You're in charge of your destiny and you're in the right place. And I would also ask you to revisit the so-called negative experiences of your life. Say you were a child and you were neglected by your parents. What was the positive outcome of that situation? For many people who were neglected, and maybe not even a major way, maybe you were just like me, where my parents worked really hard and I was home alone a lot by myself. Now I could be like, yeah, that's why I'm a loner. That's why I have social, problems. There's all types of way that I could say, this led to some current difficulties or difficulties that I've had as a grown-up in my life. Or I could say, you know what? I'm also incredibly resourceful. I'm incredibly imaginative. And I'm also great with just taking charge of my own life because I was left to my own devices when I was younger. So there is also a way that we can revisit and reframe what has happened to us, good and bad. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not trying to blame the victim. This can feel harsh to say, but radical responsibility is not about blaming victims, and it's not even about blaming yourself. It is not about saying like, yeah, I'm a loser. Everything that happens to me is because I've made these crummy decisions, and here I am. Oh, this sucks. This is not about making yourself the victim. It's the exact opposite. It is empowering you to fully take responsibility for your life and for your future, and fully understanding that no one will do it for you. And this is totally the truth. And I'm speaking very frankly right now when I say that as a woman, and hopefully some of you identify with me, but as a woman, when I grew up, my parents and mom in particular, always made the running joke that she hoped I would meet someone rich. And she always said that I was pretty enough and smart enough to meet someone rich, someone that would ultimately take care of me. And I badly wanted a family, right? I wanted the whole stay-at-home mom, kids situation. And quite honestly, that did impact in a subtle way the way that I conducted my 20s. I spent a lot of my time looking for men that I felt would be a good provider fit. And through my circumstances and the divorce that happened, and the funny thing was, is I went to school and I got a master's degree, so I always got paid more than the men that I met. So my parents kind of gave me conflicting information. They said, go to school, get educated, be your own person. But on the flip side, hopefully you meet someone rich so that you can stay home and take care of the kids. So I was really kind of filled with these mixed messages. And I always met men that made less than I did. Ultimately, when the divorce happened to me in my 30s, it was one of the best things at the end of the day that ended up happening to me, because through a series of events, I realized I am truly the only one who will change my life. I am the only one who will care for me, and no knight in shining armor, whether it be a man, whether it be a friend or family member, no one is going to do it for me. And this is when my business just took off. This is when I realized, like, I'm in this because it's just for me. It's just for me and my kids, and I'm going to do it. This radically changed my life. So yes, life definitely happens. That's just a fact of life. But radical responsibility is about asking how we can best respond to everything that happens to us, and to be perfectly honest about what we could have done better. And this will help us to become really the best versions of ourselves. If you take responsibility, you can figure out what you could do differently next time. One of the most important shifts as an entrepreneur, I've always been an introspective person, but one of the most important shifts as an entrepreneur that I have made is every time I'm in a negative situation, I try to ask myself, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this, and what can I take from this? Each negative thing has a lesson. And when we abdicate our responsibility, we unfortunately don't learn. The people that we see in our lives, and we all know these people, the people that don't take responsibility, the people that like to blame, the people that like to say it was a circumstance outside of their control. When we see these people giving up their responsibility, we understand that they aren't learning from the situation, and therefore they can't change their behavior for the next time. I really love that quote about history. Like, if we don't, one of the reasons why history is so important is because because if we can't examine the past, we can't make things better for the future. And this is basically the same. If you don't recognize what could have gone better or what the lesson is in whatever negative thing that's happening to you, you become a victim of someone else's decision. Suddenly you're at the mercy of someone else. And this is not freedom. And in this situation, you are no longer in control of your life. But in almost any situation, we can retain control of our life if we respond and take responsibility in the appropriate way. Now, I know that this is different than what you're hearing from most people. And like I said, we live in a culture where it's confusing. Sometimes people say take responsibility, sometimes people don't. They like to make victims, blah, blah, blah. But you have to start thinking differently than you have up until this point. This is where you are most likely becoming an entrepreneur. You have to commit to thinking differently. You also have to understand that the way most people think in our culture isn't an entrepreneurial mindset, and it won't move you forward. 99% of the books on the shelf in the bookstore about finances are written for people that are working in the 9-to-5 rat race. Our culture is not geared towards entrepreneurial thinking. I understand this can feel like a hard, bitter pill to swallow, but I promise you thinking differently about all this is going to change your life. Now, here's my feelings on my program. I believe in this program 100%, and I'm making the joke that if there was such thing as 1,000%, I would say that I am so passionate about the work that I do and teaching it to others because of how drastically it has changed my life and my family's life. But I'm going to remind you, this is but one part of the equation. A far more reliable predictor of your success as an entrepreneur is your decision to go all in. Meaning you're invested, committed 100%. Without a doubt, entrepreneurial success comes down to an attitude of this will work come hell or high water. Maybe your time is really limited. I understand, you're here and you don't have a simple life. None of us do. Your time is really limited. Maybe your spouse isn't supportive. Maybe your family or friends are discouraging you. Maybe money feels really tight, or there are so many possible situations that you're in right now that aren't ideal. But the reality check is that many millionaires started in far worse positions than you are in right now. They had less time, less opportunity, yet they went on to make their millions anyway. This is the fact, is that we are living in a great time of opportunity, and it is available to you if you make the most of it. And why did these millionaires get success when potentially they were in worse positions than you are in? And it comes down to dogged determination, tenacity, and persistence. Tenacity is one of my most favorite words because it is just so essential as an entrepreneur. And I take pride in being tenacious and persistent. Now, your number one predictor of success in this program is going to be your attitude about success and whose responsibility it is. I invite you today to take what I love to call the entrepreneurial oath. And I just made this up myself. I thought of it because I heard someone else say when doctors become doctors, they take I think it's called the Hippocratic Oath or something like that. I might be messing it up slightly, but basically Hippocrates said, do no harm. And that's really the oath of the physician, is to do no harm. Again, this is totally from memory from like 10 years ago. So I'm just making that up. There might be some small nuances that I didn't hit the nail on the head. Ultimately, I'm thinking in the context of an entrepreneur, you must take the entrepreneurial oath to be successful. And the entrepreneurial oath is I am responsible 100% for the outcome of this program and my life. This is going to guarantee your success. Forces of nature aside, we can all walk the dog tomorrow and get hit by a truck, but obviously that aside, you must take 100% responsibility for your success in this program. And I'm actually going to show you 10 steps how. Number one, take the oath. Commit to this entrepreneurial oath. You're going to see a little form that you can print out, sign it on paper, and commit to your vision. There's more training in this program about mindset and about prioritizing your goals. This isn't fluff and this isn't stupid. Trust me, I'm a health researcher. I come from 10 years of background in research. I hated mindset stuff for many years. The reality is your mindset impacts your decisions that you make every day. If you're in a bad mood, bad things will happen. You won't get that sales call, or you'll, decide to close a contract that you shouldn't have done. If you're in a good mood, different story. The opportunities open up for you. So your mindset is not fluff. It is going to dictate your success. Number two, commit to entrepreneurial thinking. This is not stuff that we commonly hear in our society, but number one, if I don't have the answer, I will figure it out. Number two, I will make heads of any toss of the coin. We all have a decision to make heads or tails of the situation that happens to us. And if we try hard enough, we can make heads of absolutely any situation. And you can commit to finding the silver lining in everything that happens to you. I've had many situations in my business where I was at a place where I didn't want to be. I've had things happen with client accounts that I knew were directly my fault. And the way that I got out of it was after I went through the momentary feeling of humiliation, embarrassment. The thing that set me apart from what other people might do is I took 100% responsibility. And I wrote the client and I said, I'm just giving you one example. Guess what? This happened and I take responsibility for it and I will do this to make it better. A lot of times we can feel afraid to do those things, but at the end of the day, people appreciate you owning your mistakes. And as an entrepreneur, you can not only own the mistake and still potentially retain the client, you can also use that example to strengthen your contracts. You can use that to, like, for example, if a client says something and you realize that you didn't have that clause in your contract, you can strengthen your contract. For example, I had one client who wanted a refund request. He was an absolute nutcase. What I learned from that situation was I strengthened my contract. I went to a lawyer and had them review the contract. You can make heads of any situation, and you can look for the silver lining and improve your processes if you let it. Number three, stop making excuses. So this again is hard. It's not easy, and we're all human and we all have bad days where we need a rest. But overall, train your brain to stop making excuses and instead ask, what is the situation trying to teach me? How can I take radical responsibility for what is happening to me in this moment? And further to that, you can try to stop reacting. So one of the things that I had to learn is I'm a very reactive person if I let myself be. Another thing that entrepreneurship taught me was, how do I take pause and not react in this situation? How do I not respond to this message? Or how do I not pick up this phone call right now? Put myself in a centered position and then respond when the time is right, when I'm collected and put together. Number four, I want you to accept that this whole entrepreneurial thing is hard, but you can do hard things. Push yourself to do hard things and tell yourself on a daily basis, I can do hard things. No big deal. Think of all the people in history that did really hard things and they were better for it. Accept that this won't always be easy. And in fact, as you're embarking on this program, I hate to break it to you, but in the beginning, it's going to be even harder because going into the territory of the unknown is really scary as humans. Our brains are always trying to protect us and keep us in that safe place. So just accept up front, this won't be easy. And in fact, short term, my life is going to actually be even harder as I'm trying to work towards something bigger. But in life, nothing worth having comes easy. Absolutely everything in our life that we prize, all of our prized possessions, our children, our relationships, all of that, we can say at the end of the day, hey, this isn't easy work. Sometimes this is a really hard work, but ultimately it is so worth it. And the reality is when people just give us stuff, when they just give us a big check, we don't tend to appreciate it anyway. Another phrase that has been radically transformational for me is decide to like it anyway. It's hard. Yes, I can do hard things. And you know what? I'm going to make the decision to like it because I can. Number five, cultivate a daily practice. You need to have at least 20 minutes per day where you're cultivating your mindset. Now you can meditate, you can journal. I also recommend you exercise every day, whether it's a run, walk, bicycle ride. You need to commit to yourself every single day and protect your mind. You need to weed the garden of your mind, so to speak, every single day. So pluck those weeds out. Those weeds are negative thoughts. Those weeds are self-doubt, all those things that aren't going to get you further to your goal, weed them on a daily basis. And if you have a practice in place, whether it's a morning routine at 5 a.m., whether it's an evening routine at 9 p.m. before you go to bed, wherever it makes the most sense for you, cultivate a daily mindset practice. This is going to help you so much. This is going to help you preserve those wishes, dreams, and desire that you came here for. Number six, it sounds ridiculously cheesy, but you got to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself by what you've already accomplished on those days when you're feeling filled with self-doubt. And I promise you it'll happen. You're going to have days where you're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm giving up, this sucks, I'm going back to my job. I thought that many times. What I did is I sat down and reviewed what I had accomplished in my life that had went really well, because that helped to prove to myself that I can accomplish things. I did a bunch of hard things, and I know that you did a bunch of hard things too. And if you look discerningly at your life, you can find those moments where you really rose above the situation, where you accomplished really hard things. Another thing is resist seeking approval from others. This entrepreneurial journey is a huge solo experiment in giving yourself approval. Yes, we all resist approval from others, but be very cautious when taking approval from others, quite honestly. And I like to say here, put your blinders on. Keep those blinders on when your friends and family are like, oh, Facebook ads are dead, whatever the silly things that they're saying. Don't pay attention. Gain confidence by doing. So this is a really important principle to remember. Do not wait for confidence, because it's not going to come to you just sitting in anticipation. Be comfortable as a beginner, and then as you continue to do, you're going to become more confident. And accept at the beginning, you're going to make mistakes. Do not wait for XYZ to fall in place. Start imperfectly. Start your sales calls, even if you've only got a few hours a week. Learn as you go. Learn on new accounts. You can easily take the information I've taught you in this program and learn on other people's accounts. That's exactly what I did, and I have had massive success. Number 8, single-minded focus. Protect your time like crazy. So time is money. I love this expression because it's true. Time is money. Watch your schedule like you're watching your bank account. And if you don't watch your bank account, watch your bank account too. Do weekly check-ins on your bank account and your time account. Look at where you're spending your time. Be protective of people that are like, oh, I want to pick your brain. Okay, but how much money can I make in that hour? Make sure that you're very judicious about where you're spending your time, because right now I can probably guarantee that you're short on time, so every minute matters. Focus on money-making activities in your business. So ask yourself on a daily basis, is this busy work, or is this moving me towards my bigger goal, which is getting a paying client? Become obsessed with your vision. I will say, from anecdotal evidence, the entrepreneurs that are successful are close to obsessed with their vision. To be honest, people criticized me. In particular, my ex-husband said that I was unbalanced because I was so obsessed with doing things like entrepreneurial journeys. And I took that really hard at the time. And then it wasn't until after I was free, really, from kind of the entrapment of all that mindset stuff, I realized that my obsession with wanting to make my own money and wanting to be responsible for my own future is a huge asset. Become obsessed with your vision. There is nothing wrong with that. And if you need more inspiration here, Gary Vaynerchuk is such a genius when it comes to this type of encouragement. And he says that the idea of a balanced life is actually a myth, and that when you're showing up in your life like you really want to be doing it, you're really bringing your best self to the table. This doesn't mean that, you don't care for yourself, you don't, eat right, go for runs and that type of thing. But he's really just pointing to the fact that really do what lights you up inside, right? There's that old quote that the biggest service you can do to the world is doing what lights you up inside. Anyway, all this goes to say it's okay to be obsessed with your vision, and that is going to get you closer to your goal. And commit to taking action every day, even if it's just showing up in our group every day, making a comment, asking a question, or doing a video. Take out your schedule, block off your time that you're going to be working on your business. Take action every day, no matter how big or small. Number 9, serve others passionately. I am a big believer in that even if your program or your service isn't 100% perfect, if you commit to serving others and becoming a master problem solver, you're going to have a service that sells, because you're going to be committed to your vision and by extension to your clients. And do not get discouraged. Number 10 is seek support. I am here to support you, and I am thrilled to support you, and I am so pleased you're here. You have no idea. You are also here to support each other. So by participating in the group, by asking great questions, by giving comments, asking for help when you need it, and participating, you are going to get closer to your goal. Ultimately, one of the biggest game changers for me when I joined that program in late 2017, honestly, one of the biggest parts was just the support I got from others. And I remember I had a good friend, he's still a good friend, and he said to me, just ask 6K for the setup, just ask 2K per month. This was my first client. And you know what? He gave me the mindset shift. You know what? It's right. I don't care if I get this client or not. I'm just going to go on the call and just for a curiosity's sake, see if someone would say yes to this. And the person said yes. And that changed my brain considerably because when that person said yes, it actually changed the way I process information because it was like a shift in my brain. I was like, wow, people literally pay this much money for this service. Wow. And it really changed my brain because then the second time and the third time and the fourth time that I pitched a client, I said those prices that I was truly worth and I got it. So this stuff is important. The support is so, so important. So guys, thank you so much for attending this training today. This is going to change your life, I promise you. And I can guarantee that the number one predictor of your success is taking and embracing this radical responsibility for your life and for your results and in showing up for yourself. So I hope that this has been immensely motivational, yet extremely practical. Would love to talk about this more. If you have any questions, please let me know.